Hi, this is Gary Jordan, and today, for dealing with natural law, we're going to start a series of videos dealing with a different side of natural law societies that is our what we call economy. It's really kind of a really funny word because economies aren't really natural, they're really man made tools to allow us to acquire what we need and to interact with each other. And as such, economies are sort of a complement to natural law. So, with that in mind, Syndicate Courier, a colleague, a fellow blogger, activist, whatever you want to call her, she came up with as a solution to deal with our current dysfunctional economy, which does not work for people, is not in any way connected with natural law or anything wholesome for that matter. So what she suggested was the term Heirship Economy to describe a system of exchanging, system of what we would call economy. And the terms are important to think about. So in this video, I'm going to introduce it, mostly give you a comparison contrast of what it might look like. One of the interesting things about this is it's a very broad, very open-ended. Like natural law, Heirship Economy, the notions of it, the basic features, allow for a lot of scaffolding, building, adapting to whatever cultural normatives that you have for your tribe, your village, your band, and your family, or as an individual. So we'll start with the words. The words deal with heirship. Heirship is the state or being of being an heir. Well, we're heirs of the creation. We're heirs of all the earth. We're heirs of all the air, the water, what have you. And in that respect, it is an heirship. The second part is economy. And I actually remember reading long ago that economy, the word that we use, actually stemmed from a Greek word or two, meaning, there's a collective meaning of those words, mean management of a household. And essentially that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how do we manage ourselves? How do we manage our interactions, the flow through, the acquisition of materials and services that we might need and that we might want to give away. We might want to share, How do we do that? So let's start with some of the major characteristics that, from my understanding of what the heirship economy is, and it can be found on Weebly, Syndicate Courier's Rise Together, and I will post a link in the description thing on that, because I'll never remember. Anyway, one of the major features that are different from what we have now is that we're the value. We are ultimately, in reality, even in this economy, the value. But what that means is that instead of having a representation of value, like money, gold, horses, conch shells, salt tablets, what have you, and you can use anything if you need to do that. You need to represent value as a medium of exchange. You can use anything because all they are is symbols. They're symbols of that value. And as a consequence, these symbols of value don't exist in nature. I mean, you look at a forest, you go outside, you go to your ocean, you go to your desert, you go to your forest, or wherever you live, go out in nature. you don't see money. You don't see any representation of value. You will see the elements of this heirship economy there. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, is imitate how nature works. Because there's unlimited abundance. You don't see the bacteria, the mycelia that feed, or the bacteria that feed the minerals to the roots of your trees and bushes. You don't see them charging money for the minerals with compound interest and all these other fictional weird nonsense we use now. You don't see that. You don't see the sun charging the earth for all the energy that we get, all the solar radiation. It's freely given. And that brings us to naturally to the next element that's different. The next element is there is no enforced work to acquire this representation of value. There is a freely given, you do your passion of love. No one wants, more people, even severely retarded people, do not want to just sit and be a sponge. They want to do something. If it's nothing more than pulling weeds, picking up something, to reading, learning how to do this and that. I mean, but it's your own passion. And you give away what you do. In the process of learning how to play flute, you might enjoy playing it for a bunch of neighborhood kids. Or, you make pottery. And you're learning it, you're going to have a lot of cups and bowls and stuff, and you may just simply give it away to the neighbors for the heck of it. Because you can't store it all. So people do what they're passionate. What Tillinger referred to and what everybody else does is your labor of love. And really that's what it amounts to, is your labor of love. You go to a hunter-gathering society, and you'll see a very similar thing. You don't see an enforced work. The people do a few things that they absolutely need to have food and whatnot. But it's usually a labor of love. Not everybody's going to be the master hunter. But somebody else is going to be a master weaver or master basket maker or whatever. And you'll see that. And you won't see the enforced labor that we have now. We go to work for somebody else for a representation of money. It doesn't exist. You don't see it in nature. Another characteristic that stem from this doing things your labor of love, it goes interchanges with it, is that you will have each person is an individual. We could call them a sovereign nation, because you are your own authority. You are your own king, and you interact with other sovereigns, other individuals who are in the authority of themselves only. I'm not an authority of you or anybody else. I am an authority of myself. And that's the only thing I can have responsibility for. And then each of us interacts as sovereign, as autonomous, independent beings that can choose to go along with something or not go along with something. And you don't have to be verbal to do that. When I first volunteered in '96 at the Foundation for the Junior Blind downstairs at the kids while doing the adult program, one of the first things I learned is that saying no can be as simple as just simply sitting down and refusing to move. I mean, they can do it, and they will. And if they don't want to do something, they won't. And that's still freedom of choice. That's still being an autonomous being. It's not sophisticated. It's not very skillful, but it's there. Well, that's one of the things that goes along with that. And I think there's a lot of things that you'll see in such societies. You won't see a glut of one skill. You won't see nothing but computer programmers, because that makes the money. That makes the representation of value that you need to go out and you need to get in order to pay your rent, buy your food, because you won't have that. Everything will be, you'll have access to it. As an era creation, you have access to everything. What you need. As Mahatma Gandhi put it, there's enough for everyone's need, not for everyone's greed. Which leads me to another most likely universal trait, and that is there's not going to be a need for hoarding. We hoard now because of fear. We hoard now because of status. It's whoever has the most toys wins. That's kind of thinking. It's in a airship economy where you are the heir and you have access to whatever your genuine needs are: food, shelter, clothes, which is a portable shelter, tools, recreation. You're not really going to need to hoard. We do now because we have to have that representation, that dollar bill, which really doesn't do anything. But we think it does because we've been trained to think that way. Another characteristic, in my view, well, there's a lot of characteristics. I mean, you can go, this is what I'm thinking. It's very flexible. It's very, it allows us to exchange what we need to acquire what we need. A lot of downtime. If I'm not going out chasing for more in order to lift myself up to say, look, I'm somebody because I have 25 of this, 100 of that, you don't need that. It's a need-based orientation and mindset. And so if you're not chasing after all that, trying to bring yourself up to where you feel you have value because you have all these things, to show that I have monetary value in the bank. I have X amount of the representation of value. There's going to be a lot of downtime because if you're not chasing that, you're only acquiring what you absolutely need. Think about it. How many shoes can you wear at once? How many clothes can you actually wear? How big a house do you really need? A shelter do you really need if you don't have mountains of stuff in order to say you're part of the economy? So it really becomes very interesting, very more focused, very more. That doesn't mean that you have low quality. In fact, as you look at the handmade stuff coming out of places like Bolivia, the Amish, you can name their choice. It's high quality stuff because they got the time. They got the time. There's no pressure. There's no pressure to make X amount for X amount of make-believe tokens of value. Your mega token. Anyway, those are some of the characteristics, and you explore and think about it. I'll post the link of the Heirship Economy so you can get a chance to see what has been developed so far. It's really ongoing development and of rethinking about what we would need, because we really don't need a reset. We really don't need a currency revalue, because currency is money, is a representation, a token, a symbol of that value. And those are that's the main difference, is we are the value, and then we need to interact with one another to acquire what we actually need, as opposed to gobbling up stuff in order to say that we're loved. I guess there's a lot of emotional baggage that goes to our current means of interacting with each other. Anyway, that's it for now, and I hope this is useful. I'm babbling a lot, so I better stop before I babble my way into oblivion. So you guys all have a nice day and enjoy. Bye-bye.